think it's working.
It is.
Cave me LaFalcha. Welcome, Gerald.
Hello.
If
I'm
it
glad
weren't
to
for
be
you have
here.
Gerald to thank, he reminded me this was supposed to be live. Sorry.
It's okay.
So I didn't advertise, and I hope that somebody recognizes that, that we're here. If not, that's okay. I have a serious knitting question for you.
Oh, okay. Please.
Okay, so I can't see. Where did it go? I think I did my heel.
You did. I saw. Yes, you did your heel. It's beautiful.
Thank you. But now I think I'm doing this right, going around. I think I'm doing it right. But I noticed something. That slip knit is supposed to be like creating kind of a ridge.
Yes.
Where should the ridge be? Because I have an awful feeling that I put these stitches on the wrong needles,
Okay. So, you've turned your heel and then you picked up the gusset stitches, correct?
Sure.
Okay.
Yes.
Let me finish these 4 stitches and I will okay, so you've turned your heel.
Yeah.
There's your heel, and you picked up gusset stitches. Which
I can't see the gusset stitches.
Oh yeah, okay.
The ridge. That's what I was
the
calling
ridge on the side. Yeah.
So now, where is that supposed to be located in relationship to your heel?
Those are, because the heel is here, the gusset stitches are perpendicular to your heel.
I don't think I did this right somehow or other. Well, okay, so here's this, looks all knit on the outside part. And then here's this rough part that was the heel part.
Mm-hmm.
And my gusset stitches, I can't find them on that side.
Those are the things that you picked up 17 stitches down the side.
Here's one of them. Is this too high up? Because here's where the heel is.
No, actually, you want your gusset, you want to do your decreases away from the heel. So it's toward the top of the sock. So if we hold it like this, where the heel is down, and we have this.
Okay, like that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
You're going to do your decreases at the ends of needles 1 and 4.
Okay. Actually, I thought there might be a problem. It's at the end of needle 1, but it's not at the end of needle 4. It's at the beginning of needle 4, according to this.
That is correct. You are correct. It'll be at the beginning of needle 4 and at the end of needle 1.
Yes, and then the center is actually the center of the heel. Correct? Like the center of this little poofy part. Like I guess that's the bottom. Like
yeah.
Right. Okay.
Because those needles 2 and 3.
Yeah, it's in the between them.
What is between them?
Between them is the center, actually. Is that right?
Okay. Yeah, that's the top of the sock. The bottom of the sock is the heel.
Right. Oh. Did I do it backwards? No. I think I have it right. I just have myself discombobulated. I have a very poor sense of spatial relationships.
Okay.
Like I can't put anything together, when it comes in a box with directions. It's just not even possible, try as I might.
Yeah.
Inevitably, I'll orient two pieces together, and my husband will look at it and go, "What are you doing?"
But let me ask you this: is when you look at your sock
Mm-hmm.
and you have a heel,
Mm-hmm.
and you have a top,
Mm-hmm.
does it make sense that the way you're adding knitting actually is going to do the foot? Does it make
Yeah,
sense?
out this way where the toe will eventually
Yeah.
be.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this little spot here is the back bottom of the heel.
Yes.
Okay.
I
Oh my
believe
God.
so.
Thank you, God. It's a miracle. Okay. And I can't knit and talk to you at the same time because I can't knit and knit at the same time. So,
Aw.
so what are you working on?
I have turned the heel, or I did the heel flap and then turned the heel, and I have finished with all of the gusset decreases. So I am just knitting down the foot of the sock.
You're
So,
not all that far ahead of me.
well, no, I'm not, Helen.
I have about 9 rows, and I will be at the end of the decreases.
Okay. Yeah, because I've got that, but then that being said, I do have on my, because I'm knitting 2 socks at once on 2 sets of double points. I've probably got about 20 rows knit from all of the decreases. So, because what I did was I actually marked when I finished my gusset decreases so that I could count the number of rows
Yeah, that
to
was
make sure
smart. I
that
have
they
to remember
matched
to do
each one.
that. Yeah, that was smart.
Yeah.
Part of my confusion was they're talking about, making your heel. And when you say that to me, what comes to my mind is the bottom of the foot. I know
Oh,
anatomically where your heel is, but
yes.
for some reason in a sock, when you say that, I think of the bottom. So I was thinking, God, this can't be right. so,
Yeah.
so you can see where the problem lies.
Yes.
Okay, I accept full responsibility. Let's ask you a question that puts you on the spot.
Okay.
Oh, this is a good one. We may have talked about this before, but then it might have been with somebody else. Talk about a time when you thought that the movie was better than the book.
Oh, that's an interesting one because we talked about books being into movies. So
Mm-hmm.
this is a similar question.
Yeah, so I
And it's
sounded
just
familiar.
yeah. When the movie was better than the book. Okay, so I'm going to spin off on that a little bit. The book Ready Player One.
Yeah.
Did you read that?
You got out.
Ready Player One.
No.
Okay, it was a fascinating book, and it was set in the future where they were obsessed about the 1980s. I came of age in the 80s.
Oh,
And
that's why. Yeah.
yeah, and the book was great. The movie was a different thing than the book, and what they did is the screenwriters did a beautiful job of understanding what would translate to the big screen, and they didn't try to force it to be everything. So there was a good editing with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I thought that was well done.
I think it's a real art to translate a
Yes.
book into a movie. And the most important part is picking the right kind of book.
Yes.
Because not every book lends itself to the visual medium.
Mm.
And the one that always comes to mind, the general category that always comes to my mind is Stephen King's books.
Oh, yeah.
They're always interpreted by Hollywood as horror. And yeah, theoretically, that is what they're about, but they're about way more than that. And he has a lot more character development in his books and a lot of internal dialogue that they never put in the movies. I always find the movies that come from his books as really disappointing. I'm having a hard time thinking of the reverse.
Yeah, yeah, that's a tough question.
Oh, I can think of one. It's logical though. War and Peace. I mean, let's face it. Those Russians are a slog, and to be able to see it instead made it
Yes.
palatable. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
But I would say if I had to make a statement, a definitive statement, they almost always ruin a good book when they make a movie out of it.
Yes. Was it Little Women?
Yeah.
Is it no, or is it Pride and Prejudice? They recently did one of the Austen books as a film.
Mm-hmm.
And it's getting praised because some of the dialogue is right from the book. And
that may be Little Women.
I think it's okay. Little Women, then. Yeah.
Okay. The woman who made Barbie, the movie,
which I saw recently, which I was like, I loved it. I thought it was great.
one of the earlier movies she made was Little Women, and kind of her breakout director job. And I resisted watching it for a really long time because I have never liked a movie made from that book. Katharine Hepburn, June Allison, I love them, hated those movies because I loved that book. I loved it. And when I read it as a child, you put a picture in your head, it's hard to move away from that. But one night, a few months ago, I was desperate for something to watch, and it popped up, and I thought, oh, okay, I'll watch it. It was beautiful. It was beautiful visually, like the photography was beautiful. The costumes were gorgeous. They didn't look like Halloween. A lot of historical movies, they're dressed up, but they don't look, they look like the clothes that you would have worn every day, and and the casting was so interesting because I didn't know a couple of the young women who played the sisters. Saoirse Ronan, of course, I know her. Not personally, but I was familiar with her. And I thought it was a weird choice because she's Irish and she has a very strong Irish accent. She pulled it off. She did a fabulous job. She played Jo, and you don't picture Jo like this pale little redhead with an Irish accent. No, she did an American accent, and she did a very good job. Laura Dern played the mother.
Okay.
And I thought, well, that's a weird choice. She was very good. And then Bob Odenkirk played the father. And you know who he is, right?
I haven't.
Better Call Saul, Oh my God. It was really, really good. Really good.
I love that.
When I read that question, what it really brought to mind was a movie that I saw that I thought was so much better than the first time I saw a version of it. And this is bizarre. Through no fault of my own, no hard work of my own, I ended up getting an all expense paid trip to New York City for a gift of a friend of mine. And one of the things I did was I took myself to see Chicago on Broadway, on the stage. I hated it. And I love musicals, Hated it. I love Bob Fosse. Hated it. Was so disappointed. It was minimalist. They didn't really have sets. They only wore black leotards and top hats. There was no real costuming. And they all sat on high bar stools when they weren't actually doing their thing.
Okay.
So the movie was fabulous. And one of the best parts about it, they had this small band. I don't know if it was an octet or I can't remember how many people were in it, that kind of play all the way through. They're like the Greek chorus, they play all the way through. They're so good. Oh my God, it was wonderful. Okay, another question. Here we go. Picked at random from the center of the deck.
Ooh.
Oh, it's a vote card. I don't know what that means. This is meant to be played like a board game.
Okay.
Oh, this is a Good question. The most unusual thing you've ever collected.
The most unusual thing that I've ever collected. I have a thing for wooden boxes
Oh,
and cigar boxes.
do you remember the real cigar boxes?
Yes, I have many of them.
They smell good, don't they?
They do. And they're great for storing all sorts of things.
Do they remind you of your childhood?
Well, yes, in a way, because my dad had like one or two cigar boxes that were that because he was a ham radio operator and he had or an amateur radio operator, and so it was oftentimes filled with some stuff. I remember that. I'm fascinated with those little things,
Like wires and stuff?
wires and tubes and stuff like that. It was fascinating. So, but I don't know how weird that is.
That's not weird. I don't think it's weird, but one man's weird is another man's precious collection, True. You know. My dad was the youngest of 13, and his older brother was more than 20 years older than he. And we ended up, that's why we came to the United States to help his business while he went back to Ireland for 6 months. And we got stuck. But my uncle owned a liquor store. And in the 50s anyway, liquor stores sold boxes of cigars. And so I always had access to these empty wooden cigar boxes. Mm-hmm. And they smelled so good. Yes. And then in grade school, everyone was supposed to bring a cigar box to school to use as a pencil box.
Okay.
You know, this is before the time where kids got everything top of the line bought for them immediately before they ever even, yeah. So, you know, the first day of school, the nun says, you know, bring a cigar box. That was it. Yeah, they smell so good.
They do. And some of the boxes that I have I've purchased a few of them at antique stores, and they still smell good. They still smell good.
They hang on to it, yeah.
Yeah. So you want to know a weird thing that I've collected?
Well, that was supposed to be the
Okay, but this is like a really weird thing. I have a collection of you know, when you're going to the dentist and you need to get a crown and they do the impression of your teeth.
Uh-huh.
I have a collection of those that I got from my dentist. I wanted to keep mine. And, the person who was checking me out, she's like going, oh, yeah, we've got a whole box of those. Do you want them? And I went, sure. So for a while, they were collecting and giving me them.
Okay, Hannibal Lecter. Oh, my God. that qualifies as weird. That's
there
weird.
You go. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
I think I might be a little bit like part crow or something because I tend to collect things and I don't start out intending to collect them, but I end up with them, you know?
Yes.
And I'm very organized. They're not just randomly tossed about, but I have a little box of old keys.
Oh, that's nice.
Well, I keep thinking I'm going to make some kind of a wind chime or something. My intention is there and the necessary materials are there, but I have no ability. So I'm just like, oh, well. And then I've got a box of buttons that was my grandmother's.
Oh, that's a good collectible.
Yeah, it's an old round toffee tin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Something else weird. What is it that I have that's weird? I know I have something else. I'm trying to think.
I worked for someone, my first job in management. The location manager wanted to know what I collected. And I'm like, I don't really collect.
Like an HR interview?
No, this was I was hired in and she was like getting to know you, like what was one thing that I collected, which basically it was going to translate into every time there was a holiday, I would get something like that.
Oh.
So she's like, going, oh, I'm like, well, what do you mean? It's just like, going, oh, some people collect teddy bears, some people. So I said I collected penguins. Because do you remember the Monty Python skit where the two Pepper Pots are watching the news, and there is a penguin on top of the television set?
No, I don't remember that. And I love Monty Python. I don't remember
And
that.
it was part of the series, and they go back and forth about this penguin, what's it doing there, and all that stuff. And then the newscaster says it's now time for the penguin top of your television set to explode. And so it exploded. Well, when I moved out into my own apartment while I was in college, one of my friends who introduced me to Monty Python gifted me a very small porcelain, penguin, so that it would sit on top of my television set. So every television that I have has a penguin near it or on it.
Is that why the suit of arms behind you, the Monty Python suit of arms?
No, that was just because I thought, boy, wouldn't it be cool if I did this? I found these they were on sale at a paper outlet. I thought
I really like them. Have you ever, you must have gone to what's that big museum in Chicago? Downtown. It's the Museum of not Science and Industry. What is the name of that museum downtown?
Field Museum?
No, you would think so. No, the one that has a school attached to it, of art school.
I think it's just the Chicago Museum of Art.
Okay, they have a wing. They have one little area that's all real suits of arms. And what struck me about them is how small they were.
Mm-hmm.
These are the formidable knights that everybody is so afraid of, and they were shorter than I am.
Yeah,
I'm short.
Hey, that's really short. Oh.
And no, I fully confess. And shrinking every day, too, I might add. I'm compressing. As I go down, I go out. It's just like somebody put a load of bricks on my head, and it all has to go somewhere, right?
So, may I show you one of the hats that I finished knitting?
Yes.
Okay, so I finished knitting this hat. This is a really long hat.
Love the color.
Yes, I do too. So I have a hat that is not using a bulky weight yarn, and it's not using a bulky yarn, and I really like it because I can fold it in, and it gives me a couple of layers. So because initially this is supposed to be, it's like this, and then you fold it down like that.
Yeah, it's so cute.
And so you have multiple layers. Well,
yeah.
I knit one of these hats, and I didn't cast on enough stitches. And so when you cast on stitches for a hat and you don't cast enough to fit your head, the solution is to find somebody else's whose head.
That's right. That's right.
So I was showing it to my Jeffrey, and he put it on, and then he wore it to work the next day. So I no longer have that hat, and he has a new hat. That's how it goes.
Perfect.
So this is lovely. And last week I was teaching a friend to knit, and I was trying to teach her continental knitting, which is where you manipulate the yarn with your left hand and not your right.
Yeah, I don't know how to do that. Yeah.
So and so she was struggling. Well, I was actually watching her knit, and I'm like going, you naturally do an American style knitting or an English knitting. So I taught her how to actually knit English, and she's off like a horse. She's in a horse race. She's like, boom. And it was like, okay.
Is there an advantage from one style to another? I mean, does one serve a different kind of knit object better, or?
I personally think stranded knitting or fair isle knitting.
Yeah.
When you're knitting continental is good because you could have 2 strands of yarn. I could have a strand around my index finger and then a strand around my middle finger, and then I could manipulate them without having to put down, without actually having to
Yeah.
stop
Yeah.
and loop like that.
Yeah. It gets to be a tangled mess.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know how to do it. I hate to push my luck,
Once you do that, it's a great project, and it really makes warm sweaters, because when you're doing stranded knitting, you basically have 2 layers of wool.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Makes sense.
yeah.
Oh, I was going to show you the yarn that I ordered. I'm going to make my grandson a poncho. He loves ponchos.
Oh, yes.
And I got some beautiful variegated wool. Once again, it's in the other room. It's beautiful shades of teal and greens. It's really pretty. A blue, dark blue. It's really pretty.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm still supposed to be making this sock. My first sock, there's of the pair. Mm-hmm. Just have had such a week. Okay. Oh, this is an interesting question. Name a U.S. city that will not exist or will be wildly different in the next 50 years.
Nashville, Tennessee.
Oh, now I hadn't thought of it. Why do you say that?
I think music will evolve and change, and they will, I think, go back to the roots of that. And Dollywood will probably not exist. So Dolly Parton is a huge factor in the area.
Oh.
I think St. Dolly, for entertainment purposes only, whatever. But I love Dolly Parton.
Oh, okay. I don't know very much about her.
Well, one of the things that she has done is because she comes from below poverty level.
Yeah.
Where she didn't learn to read. So what she does is she created, I think it's like, oh shoot, a bad librarian. It's basically kids in the communities. They get a book every month until they go to school, to try to encourage the kids to be able to
read. Yeah.
So,
she really didn't learn how to read.
She in the community, that was the standard. So she struggled with reading, I believe.
That's so sad.
So she's used her popularity and her money to build up the community, and I think it's Imagination Library. But she has that has expanded. We now have it in Ohio because it's been so successful. And that is one of the main reasons that kids are not reading. They're not learning to read before school, is because they don't have access to books. So kids would get books sent to them.
People don't read for entertainment anymore. Houses don't have bookshelves. Adults don't read. They're on their phone all day long. So the kids are not getting access, and there's no role modeling.
Yes.
It's very disturbing. That's one thing I'm very proud of my kids. 2 of them have children, and the other 3 don't. The 3 that don't want children. However, they dote on their nieces and nephew. And one of the things they do is they really reinforce that whole notion. They give them books. Yes. They encourage them. If there's a movie, like the one that comes to mind because the actress just died, Harriet the Spy, they might get them to go to the movie, but they'll make sure they've read the book. Yes. They really do that. They reinforce it. That's so sad. You know Lois Lenski.
No, I don't.
Oh, I'm so thrilled. I'm so glad you don't, because then I can talk about her, because I love her. Of course, she's gone now, but she was a writer for children, and she started out in late 40s, early 50s. I'm so bad with facts. But she started writing books for children, and she got hired in that writers project where they went around the country and wrote children's books reflective of the area. So,
Oh, okay.
Strawberry Girl. She
Nope,
wrote Strawberry
but okay.
Girl. She wrote Coal Miner's Boy, San Francisco Boy. She wrote about regions, and she Judy's Journey. It was all about a houseboat down the Mississippi. You know, just all, or maybe it was the Erie Canal. It's been 60 years since I've read them, so I'm not really remembering terribly clearly, but they were remarkable books. And what they did was they divided them up into a version for a picture book, same story, more detail, a version for beginner readers, and then same story, much more detail for like 5th, 6th, 7th grade.
Okay.
And she illustrated them. And she did pen drawings. I mean, they're not big splashy colored, books, but they're little pen drawings. She illustrated Maud Hart Lovelace's books, Betsy and Tacy and Tib.
Okay, don't know those, but okay.
So these must be a niche little girl type thing, but they were popular when I was a child. They were very popular. Betsy and Tacy and Tib were about 3 little girls who lived, I think, Minneapolis, St. Paul area at the turn of the century. So they're in the ruffled bodices and the pigtails and the just invented cars, yeah.
Nice.
Great books for children.
So where do you think will be different?
My mind went completely in a different direction. You were thinking in terms of cultural, social stuff. I immediately thought geographical changes. I think Miami will be underwater.
Oh, okay.
I think Miami and a big chunk of Florida will be underwater. I think there are going to be coastal changes all along the Gulf Coast, the Gulf of Mexico coast, and there will be changes along both the Atlantic and places like Long Island and Cape Cod and all along the Jersey Shore, and then down into South Carolina. And then of course, the Gulf, New Orleans, and places like that, they're going to experience inundation.
Yes, that makes sense.
Yeah. That
makes sense.
It doesn't bear thinking about. Okay. We had a similar question, but this is it's a good question. It's slightly different. Our question we got before was the best advice anybody ever gave you. But here's a piece of advice you wish you could give your younger self.
Piece of advice I wish I could give my younger self. Finish projects or stop them before you start another one.
How many unfinished knitting projects do you have, Gerald?
I don't think the numbers go that high. No, because I think part of it is it's this idea of really understanding and being able to stay focused on a project and to see, and how, I don't know about you, but sometimes with projects, there comes a lull in my attention span or my enthusiasm about it. I want to work on to get through that a little bit, because then it would be, look what I learned about that.
Yeah.
Look what I learned about that. And I would add to that, I can piggyback this onto this. Keep a journal. Keep a journal. Write down what you're thinking. Write down significant events. Keep a common.
Are you talking purely in relationship to knitting projects or just in life?
just in life, because that way you can look back and you can go, when was that? Or I don't remember that. Or, oh, I remember when this happened. Or it would be a collection of those things that, oh, I met with Helen today and she said this interesting thing and it really got me thinking.
It was really shocking that she said.
Yeah. It's that idea of, because I am a firm believer of when you write down things, it helps to incorporate it into your memory.
Yes, yes. Yes.
And I would absolutely be doing it in cursive so that people can't read it, in 50 years.
Well, it's really synchronistic, and I find this happens a lot with my friends who are in the psychic world. It's synchronistic you would bring this up, because I, in the past few weeks, have been learning about Stoicism.
Oh yeah.
And well, my goal was to provide the answer, not coming from me because I don't have it, but from ancient thinkers, what their opinion was. People keep asking me, what can we do? How should we react? And I really don't know. So I've been reading and then sharing what I read. And Stoicism is interesting because it's not what I thought it was. When I heard the word Stoicism, I thought somebody who's a bit of a masochist and kind of grumpy and goes, oh, I guess I'll just put up with it, and suffers in silence. That's kind of what I thought. I don't know what you think when you hear it.
I don't, but go on.
Okay. So I was shocked to find out it's an awful lot like Zen Buddhism. And it started with the Greeks and went to the Romans. The Greeks and Romans, the elite of the Greeks and Romans were really into it. But it culminates with one of the emperors, Marcus Aurelius. And he was really serious Stoic. He did not want to be emperor. He kind of got adopted into the family that placed him in the position, the order to become emperor. It was a Machiavellian political move on the part of the adults, and they kind of groomed him to be emperor. And he didn't have that kind of ruthless personality. He wanted to do good in the world. He wanted to live an honorable life. He was contemplative. Even though he was massively privately rich, he valued objects and took care of them, which was unusual because the Roman elite, they were profligate. They would just use it and throw it away or misuse it or not take care of it. So as a Stoic, he espoused the idea of the importance of keeping a journal. And you get up in the morning, before you do anything, you sit down and you write what your plans are for the day. Have an intention. Don't just go out into the world willy-nilly and like a blade of grass in the wind. You get an email, you get a phone call, you encounter somebody, and you are taken off track. You have no purpose in the day. Days build up and give you purpose in your life. So you should have an overall plan and a purpose that's meaningful, that will advance your evolution as a soul, because they believed that your body was temporary, but your soul was eternal. And this was not necessarily a popular belief, right?
Yes.
And so in the morning, you sit down and you write how you hope to be better this day and faults that you have that you want to work on. And then at night, you sit down and you write, well, this happened and I messed this up, but I did do this. And these are the goals that I achieved, and maybe tomorrow I'll do better. So the importance of keeping a diary has more than just sort of memory benefits and chronological benefits. It also can be a tool for spiritual evolution.
I love that. And by journal, I would say diary.
Yeah, and his diary was never meant to be read. Well, it's funny you would say the two, because they mean the same thing. Diary comes from the Latin for the days, dia, right? And then journal is actually from the French, jour, like the pièce du jour, the thing of the day, right? Jour just means day. That's why a journey was how far you went in a day.
So everybody, this is why you're watching Helen. I mean,
Because I'm
come
such
on.
a good knitter.
Well, Helen is awesome. Okay.
Oh, thank you.
There you
You're very
go.
sweet. You're very sweet.
Um,
Mutual. It's mutual. Nobody else will tolerate this nonsense that I spew.
heck, and here I am encouraging it.
I know. It's dangerous, Gerald. People are going to be getting in touch with you.
That's
Okay.
because I'm the youngest. I'm the perfect one because mom and dad stopped when they got it right.
Oh, that's such a diss. I'm the oldest. My parents really had to practice quite a bit.
Yeah. So did mine.
Oh my God. Okay, this is a great question. An underrated cartoon character that you love.
Ooh. Okay, I'm going back. An underrated cartoon character that I love. Wow.
That's a hard one, isn't it?
It is because I haven't watched some cartoons in a long time.
Yeah, yeah.
I did the Tom and Jerry stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Aquaman
I don't even know that.
from the Super Friends, where there was Wonder Woman, Batman and Robin, Superman, Aquaman, the Wonder Twins, and the Halls of Justice. Aquaman, his superpower is to communicate to the sea creatures and to get them to do things and to help.
Was this on TV?
Yes.
I'm old. I never saw that.
Okay. But
Was this in the 80s?
Late 70s, 80s, yes.
Yeah, I didn't have a television because I was old. I was already an adult by then. No, it's true.
Yeah, Aquaman. And so, yeah, because so he gets to communicate with underwater creatures and where Batman and Robin, where Wonder Woman has the lasso of truth and a cool invisible jet.
I don't know about any of this.
Okay, so
Wait a
what
minute.
about you?
The lasso of truth. Tell me about that.
Oh, Wonder Woman had a lasso where it was a golden rope, and if she would capture somebody, she could put it around them, and they could not lie.
Oh, I love that. That's hilarious.
Let me tell you, I'd be walking around certain places with a lasso of truth, making sure that anyhow.
Yeah. And you wouldn't have to go too far. I can think of a few people in the immediate vicinity, and I'm not talking about in my immediate vicinity. Yeah. Okay. Who do I think? Oh, now it's hard. It's hard to remember them all, but I think that the ones that jump to mind immediately probably are the more significant, right? So everyone's favorite psychopath. I love Bugs Bunny.
Oh, mm-hmm.
I just such a sociopath. But with a sense of humor. I love Bugs Bunny. I thought he was so clever and so funny. I also really I cannot pick a character because the whole entire thing is genius, The Simpsons.
Oh, it's brilliant.
Did you know that the guys that started it and for a long time wrote it, they're all like PhD mathematicians and physicists.
I love it.
And they're psychic.
Really? Okay.
Oh my God! You don't know this?
Yes. Where they'll do something and then 5 years later, it will have happened. Yeah, I watched a video recently to where they were talking about that.
They predicted Trump would be president. They predicted a woman would run and she would wear pearls and a purple outfit, and Kamala did. They predicted 9/11. They predicted there was something else. They predicted something really significant that I can't remember now. But yeah, it's weird. It's just really weird because they're making these movies, these TV shows 20 and 30 years before the event actually happened.
Yes.
Very weird. I particularly like Krusty the Clown
Oh,
and Ned Flanders.
oh, there's a Ned Flanders Society.
There is?
There is. Yes, where guys would dress up looking like Ned Flanders.
Hidely ho, neighbor,
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna tell you a story, and I know I would almost bet my life on it that the person involved will never see this. So we homeschooled. And but because of the nature of homeschooling, we were one of extremely few people in this entire community who homeschooled who wasn't ultra right-wing religious, because it was all fundamentalists, right? So my girls really had no choice. That it was socialized with the homeschoolers. We did a lot of communal educational things in the daytime, field trips and stuff.
Sure.
And they were in my Girl Scout troop, and my girls all went to dance classes with them. It's just a small town, and we got to know them. And some of the parents were absolutely lovely. I mean, I have nothing bad to say, except that they were very stereotypically sincere but extreme right-wing Christians, right? So there was always this kind of invisible wall past which we never got,
Right, yes.
And so one of the couples whose two little girls were really very close to my children for a very long time, the father looked like Ned Flanders and the mother looked like Maude. And we used to laugh. We used to call them the Flanderses. And then one of the daughters got married. She actually married my daughter's ex-boyfriend, whose mother made them break up because we weren't religious. It's a small town. It's great stuff. So anyway, she married this guy, and they had two little boys. Now, I never saw them because our ways parted. The kids grew up and we had nothing in common, so that was the end of that. One day I was on my walk, and I always walk through this big church parking lot. It's like a mega church, not mega in the world, mega for this town. And I'm walking through the parking lot, and I hear somebody calling me, and I turn around, and it's the mother, right? It's the Maude Flanders. And she's got her grandchildren with her. She's picking them up from the Christian daycare.
Okay.
So these are the two children of the daughter who was a friend of my daughter's. She calls me over and says, these are my grandsons. I'm not kidding. It was Rod and Todd. The Flanders boys. They looked identical. It took every ounce of my self-control to not burst out laughing. They were the spitting image of Rod and Todd Flanders. You can't make this up.
No. Yeah.
I'm not going to go to hell.
Well, you'll be there after me if you are, but
I'll save you a seat.
I think it was called Dead Pudding Society, was one of the first shows of The Simpsons. And it had something to do with Ned Flanders.
Do you remember the show where Homer got in trouble? I can't remember how.
Homer got in trouble on The Simpsons?
I know. They took the kids into foster care. And they came to the house and they got them and they put them in the back of the car and they pulled out of the driveway and they turned right into the Flanders driveway because they were working as foster parents. So the kids are at like their living nightmare. They're living at the Flanders house and they're all sitting around playing a board game that had something to do with the Bible. I don't remember what it was, it was Bible quotes, and Maude comes in with a tray and says, maybe it's time for a break. Who would like some wintergreen ice milk? I don't know why that tickles me so much. I just thought that was hilarious. Wintergreen ice milk. If you could invent a dessert that was not a dessert.
Well, see, and this is interesting. Here, I love this idea is when we look back at our life experiences, if we bring that sense of humor and that willingness to look at this and go, oh my gosh, I can't believe that that's hilarious, it really shifts the energy around it instead of like, oh, we only had, wintergreen ice milk. It really shifts.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think what really strikes me is here we are. We could not have been more opposite as families. Our, I wouldn't say our values were different because we valued the same things.
Yes.
But our worldview was different. They were extremely conservative, extremely fundamentalist. And I'll just say we're not. And yet we found common ground. And our children were good friends. They slept over, back and forth and did. We once took their daughters with us to see the Phantom of the Opera on stage. It was a long trip. And it was so cute because the two youngest, my youngest and their youngest, all the way home sang the Phantom of the Opera.
But see, this is where I really appreciate is you found common ground.
Yeah.
And and you make space for that. I really appreciate it when I probably have said it before, when we take time to recognize how we are similar rather than how we are different.
It was easier then.
Yes, it was easier, but I also think most parents want the best for their children, and they want their children to be safe and to be successful, and that's really beautiful. And how you fulfill that goes up with your upbringing and your values and the opportunities that they have.
Yeah, and they were not malicious or angry people. They were very sincere, and they still live a very non-confrontational life. However, their son-in-law, my potential former son-in-law, not really, is now on the city council and advocating as much as he can for a complete right-wing takeover. So I think our relationship would be quite different now than it was 25, 30, which is a tragedy. It's really too bad. Would that we could go back to having those sorts of relationships.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, now that I've bummed both of us out, oh, good. You are the perfect person to answer this. And I'm the perfect person to be the counterpoint. A reason to not have children.
A reason to not have children, because if you don't have children, you have double the income and no kids. You have more money. Now that's very superficial, but it's true.
No, it presents a very different kind of life. Your opportunities are different. Your experiences are completely different, right?
Yes.
My brother-in-law and sister-in-law, both lawyers, and have no children. So it's a stark contrast.
Yes. So it is, it would there would be a significant change. Oh my God, Helen. I dropped a stitch, or I have a stitch that is not knit properly. Here's the stitch. I am here. There's like
it's not lost. All is not lost.
Yes, all is not lost. However,
do you have the loop? I mean, can you still get that little loop of a stitch?
I think so.
I just fixed myself. I found one, and you just go up all those crossbars, you know, and okay. What am I telling you? You know.
Well, but the thing is there's I was actually having a conversation with somebody else early just before this is there's a certain amount is that when you've knit far too past it, picking it up and bringing it up,
it gets tight.
It gets really tight, and
Yeah.
I may be at that point. So I'm going to do this thing where I'm going to put this down.
Because so you don't cry on camera.
I actually used to shoot video of my knitting, and at one point I was knitting a shawl.
Yeah.
And I was like finished with it, and I was, and I was showing everybody, and I found a drop stitch. And I was just like, oh my, and so on film, there's me actually quickly trying to put in a stitch holder so I don't lose it anymore. And I ended up going in and I made another video about how I solved it.
Well, if I found one that late in the game and I was able to hide it, I would sew it in place and just
and that's what
call
I
it good. Yeah. Just sometimes it's what you call a Quaker knitting project. The Quakers always intentionally knit a mistake into they create a mistake in any work they do because only God is perfect.
Yes.
I love that. That justifies my life.
I do too. So what's what's your spin on the question?
Oh, well, to me, it's easy. It's what I told my daughter when she first got pregnant. I said, well, kiss your peace of mind goodbye. I said that from the day you get pregnant until the day you die, your peace of mind, your serenity, the center of your life is no longer you, because you worry about miscarriage and birth defects and stillbirth and childhood diseases and accidents and bad boyfriends, bad girlfriends, jobs, school. I mean, it never ends. And at the time, my daughter was in her 30s. She's now in her 40s. And I told her, I still worry about you every day. And she's got a perfectly fine life. I mean, she doesn't have any, but I never am not in the back of my mind, at least hoping that everything's status quo. And unfortunately, if you have more than one child, they take turns torturing you. So there's always one that has a crisis, so that I never get a break, because there's always somebody on the phone crying or somebody on the phone. Like right now, my youngest she and her boyfriend just got notice that their landlord's son wants to move back into the house and they have to be out in 6 weeks. Ugh. Well, you know what that situation is like, trying to find a place to live, right? Yeah. And they're two working professionals and they're freaking out. So it's always something. Before that, it was school and my grandchildren, and now it's this, and then what's coming up summer. So we'll have an issue then too about something, Well, so it's peace of mind. It's an ongoing 24/7 rest of your life. If they outlive you, you worry till the day you die. And if you outlive them, you worry till the day you die.
Yes. Yeah.
So now no one wants to have kids. You're welcome. I didn't ask what are the joys.
No, they didn't. But, what are the joys of having children?
Well, they're innumerable. I mean, they're little things like being able to remember now, 30 years ago, them singing the Phantom of the Opera. I mean, it was priceless. It sounds stupid. It's trite, but it was priceless. Every single day, and I'm sorry I didn't write things down. Every single day, some little kid around here would say something so hilarious. And just those moments. And they never, there's always something. There's always some cute, sweet. And then, you learn to not be so selfish. I didn't mean it like that.
No, actually, because, when you first asked the question, it's like, having children, you can't be selfish. I mean, you could be, but it's not, it doesn't work out well.
No, if you are, then you end up with insufferable adults later in
Yes.
life, you know.
Mhm.
I don't know. There are a lot of drawbacks. It's really hard. Well, for example, I did not get an unbroken night's sleep for 25 years, and I'm not exaggerating.
I
I
believe
never
you.
went to bed once in 25 years and slept the whole night without being woken up by somebody or something.
Mhm.
So when they finally all went away to school, you know, when my youngest went to college, it was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
I still, to this day, when I go into that bathroom and sit, I think at some point, oh my God, this is so wonderful. I am alone.
Yes. I remember, I'm the youngest of 12 children, and we did an oral history with my parents. I did this and we recorded it.
Oh my God.
And it was great. And I gathered questions from my siblings and the grandchildren.
So good.
It was so wonderful. And one of the questions is, do you like kids?
Now,
So what was
wait a minute. Are you asking your siblings?
no, these are the questions that we asked mom and dad, or I asked mom and dad.
Oh my
And
God.
I asked my siblings and the grandchildren the questions they wanted mom and dad to answer.
For them to answer. Yeah.
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 And so one of the questions is, do you like kids? I swear to, mom and dad looked at each other and both burst out laughing and said, well, what do you think? And I'm not going, kudos to me for getting lucky and having them as parents.
Yeah, because you know what? I don't like other people's children.
Well, I'm not talking about other people's children.
Okay. All
I'm
right.
just talking about if they like, kids, because there's 12 of us.
Yeah, which is kind of hilarious. Well, the other way to ask that question is what people asked me when I was a child. Don't your parents have a TV set? Can you imagine asking a child that? At first, I didn't know what they meant.
Yes.
But
Well,
eventually I figured it out.
It was because it was I get it. Yeah. Okay.
Isn't that awful?
My joke, the joke that my father told is that, everybody knows that we have 12 children. And, I recently found out my wife was hard of hearing. And he was saying this in front of a group of like 3,000 people at a conference.
Oh my God.
And mom is next to him. And he said, I recently
She's slowly getting redder and redder.
Oh, she was laughing hysterically. But yeah, I recently found out my wife is hard of hearing because at every night when we'd go to bed, I said, are you going to sleep, or do you want to go to sleep, or what? And she would say, what? I mean,
I can't believe he told that.
He told that, and I tell you, Helen, I come from my sense of humor very honestly. I mean, that was the relationship they had. It was funny, and it was meant in good spirit.
Hilarious. Oh my God. I hope it wasn't like a convocation of nuns or something.
No, it was a ham radio event. So
well then. Okay.
It was fine. But boy, that was funny. And years later, people were still talking about it. And hearing Dad tell that story. No, actually, it's even funnier was hearing my mother tell the story about this.
Oh, I can't even imagine.
Oh, it was just great. I mean, yeah.
Oh, my parents were too buttoned up for anything like that. They were waiting for the bolt of lightning from heaven,
Yeah.
All right. So let me ask you, and if this is too personal, just tell me to shut up and I'll ask what's on this card.
Okay.
Do you ever have second thoughts about it?
About what?
Having children or not having children?
No, I don't.
I sometimes fantasize about what it would be like to lead the kind of life that my brother and sister-in-law, the brother-in-law and sister-in-law lived,
Yeah.
Free and rich.
That's a great question. I was never a person who had a desire to have children.
You got cut off. You were, or you?
I was never a
Never.
person who
Yeah.
wanted to
Yeah.
have children. I am fine being the cool uncle.
Yeah.
I'm great with kids.
Kids
And what
need that. They
yes,
need unencumbered extended family that pays attention to them.
yes. And it was great because, and I can babysit, I can change a diaper, I can feed a kid. What's wonderful is you give them back to the parent.
Yeah, exactly. I know. I hear you.
And I was not one who just said, okay, the baby needs changed. Here's your baby, change them. I'm not good. Where's the diaper bag?
Yeah.
And if the baby was fussy, I wouldn't give him up. It's like, okay, let's figure out what you need.
But you knew that there was an end at the end of the tunnel, a light at the end of the
Oh,
tunnel
absolutely.
situation. Yeah. And you can understand why it can be so problematic for people, there is no end at the end of the tunnel. There's no end
Well,
to
you
the
were
tunnel.
just saying, yeah. I mean, you're worrying all the time.
Yeah. And it's not like a constant overt anxiety attack,
Right.
but you hear they're going on a trip and you think, oh God, I hope they drive carefully, or it's
Yep.
just always something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Should we make this our last question? Are we doing okay
Sure.
for time? How are
Yeah.
you for
Let's
time?
make this the last one.
Okay.
So,
This is good. A food that most people like that disgusts you.
oh wow. I know what Jeffrey would say is tomatoes. He does not like tomatoes.
I would never have guessed that. That's so funny.
Okay. This is hard.
Isn't it hard? Because there's just too many choices.
There's too many choices, and I don't like black licorice. I don't like licorice.
Oh, isn't that interesting?
I don't like black licorice because in my mind, licorice is strawberry or cherry, as in Twizzlers or Red Vines.
Oh, now see, I think that they're an insult to the licorice world.
And is that anise? Is that the flavor?
It's
that
anise. And here's an interesting little fact that I discovered to my great misfortune. Licorice is very popular in the Netherlands. And when we went to Ireland, we had a stopover at the airport in Holland. Amsterdam. Was it Schiphol, something like that? And just long enough to wander around the shops once and then, And I discovered that the Dutch love licorice. And I should have looked this up, but I can only imagine it has something to do with their colonies in Southeast Asia.
Okay.
I would think. Do you think? So I went into this store and they had all this licorice and it was really inexpensive. And I really like black licorice. And my son-in-law loves black licorice. And I thought, okay. So I bought some and I started to eat it. And I'm a little bit compulsive. And I was just eating it, and eating it and eating it and eating it. And it turns out that their licorice is not like American licorice. It's far less sweet. It's more pungent, and it's got a weird after effect. I mean, I was sick. Oh, it was horrible. My stomach, it just left a bad. So that's just a little something I discovered about licorice. But that's not my food that
what's your food?
Other people like. I am disgusted. Now, I know this is rich coming from me. I am disgusted by the average American diet. And the older I get, the more shocking I find it. And I was raised on it. So, not pointing fingers too much. You watch television shows that are documentary style, and you've got families sitting around the table, and every single thing on their plate is beige, shades of brown, mac and cheese, pizza, fried chicken, French fries. Nobody eats a vegetable. Nobody eats anything other than fast food. I'm appalled at the way children eat. You go to the grocery store and look, next time you go to the grocery store, just look at what people have in their carts.
Yeah.
And I'm no walking, talking example of good nutrition. I mean, I admit that, but at least I know the difference.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes.
It's shocking. Don't you think it's shocking?
It is very shocking, and it's about convenience because how often are we teaching kids how to cook and prepare food? We're not. You know, and if you want to eat healthy, and this is Gerald is saying this, nobody else. If you want to eat healthy, shop the outside of the grocery store.
Yeah. Yeah. Not the middle and not the ends of the aisles.
No, yeah, and so, but there's, yeah, I completely understand that. Yeah.
I have a neighbor who's single and she loves to cook. And she was telling me that somebody was giving her a really hard time because for breakfast, she usually has like a meal. She usually has leftovers from dinner the night before.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So she'll have stew or, you know, soup or something like that. And I said, well, that's fine. I mean, I'm not a breakfast eater, so it doesn't matter what you eat for breakfast. I'm not a breakfast eater. But why would anybody think that that's weird? I think that that's healthier than a big bowl of Cheerios or a big bowl of, you know, Tricks Are for Kids. Come on.
Well, and it's our mind that says something is a breakfast food.
Yeah.
And not, you know, not reality. I mean, so
like in Asia, they'll eat bowls of noodles with sauces for breakfast. Italy, they get the prize though. In Italy, we're sitting in this coffee shop waiting for the Colosseum to open. This sounds so grand, but that's the only trip I ever took. Waiting for the Colosseum to open. And it's just a neighborhood, little run-of-the-mill corner coffee shop. This guy comes in all decked out in a fancy, beautiful suit. He's got leather briefcase, beautiful leather polished shoes. He's just Mr. Armani, you know. And he walks up to the counter, and the counter in a lot of these little places is more like a bar, an American bar. So he walks up to the counter. They say something. She brings him a little tiny cup of espresso, and he knocks it back like a shot of whiskey, and out he goes. It was really, I thought, oh, this is breakfast.
Well, and I understand that's been my experience where I've actually, you know, I've not been there, but I've actually heard about that when you have espresso and you're with people, you're sitting around, you're all very engaged and all that stuff. And your espresso sits there until it gets cool enough to drink, and you pretty much just do it in a shot, and then everybody leaves.
Yeah, and they also serve it with lemon peel. And I thought that was weird until I tried it, and it's actually really good. The other side of that coin is we would go someplace late in the afternoon, and I would order a cappuccino or a latte, and they'd look at you like there was something really, really wrong with you, because Italians only drink coffee that way first thing in the morning.
Oh, okay.
But I don't care. What care, you know? But they're, you know, immediately they know you're an American. We didn't dress like Americans, but there are some things that are hard. Some habits are hard to break.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, it was fun though. Ah, yes, the good old days.
Yes. So let me ask you this. The next time we get together, should we be ready to start knitting our toes? At least on one sock?
Yes. Well, oh my God, the pressure. Yes.
I mean, because one of the things that I would like to do is I am finding the need to be doing some more creative things in everyday life. Knitting, crafting, all sorts of things. So sometime I'd like to have you come on and we sit around and knit with several people and we just talk and we do something similar.
Yeah, that would be wonderful. I do need a kick in the pants to get me to work on this, because my grandson's birthday is in July, and I have this you know, I've got this beautiful yarn, and now I have a pattern, and I'm ready to make him a poncho, but I need to work on it, you know?
Okay. Have you actually read the poncho pattern?
No, I just ordered it on Etsy,
Okay.
and as we speak, my husband is printing it out.
Okay.
It's been sitting in my emails for a couple of weeks, and I was not in any gigantic hurry because
And so for
obviously
those who have been watching this, my big thing is always read your pattern before you start knitting. Always.
for somebody like me, I mean, I'm doing it because you give good advice, but for somebody like me, I'm not being critical. It's almost pointless because I can't visualize what it is until I actually, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. But I still do it. I'm still doing it. Yeah.
Well, and one of the interesting things is part of that is that way you can find out when it says, okay, so you're going to be doing 30 rows of stockinette, and you're going to see that, and then you're going to get to a point it says, and while you're doing that, do this. So
I know. I screw that up so
I've done that, and let me tell you, when you had to pull out an entire
30
sleeve.
rows.
No, I mean, you know, when you're this, you know, this far in a sleeve, and you miss that, you know,
You want to cry.
While, and it's like, those are opportunities for colorful words that are not appropriate for YouTube.
That's unfortunate, you know, because there's a lot to be said. I advocate for expanding one's vocabulary.
That's true. Yes.
Yeah.
And I think it would be very important. That's a whole show in itself. Let's talk about old expressions that are no longer used.
Oh, I wish I could remember all of my grandmothers because she had these gems from Ireland. Oh my God. Most of her discussions started with Jesus, Mary, and Holy Saint Joseph.
Yes. Yep.
And then it disintegrated.
I love that.
Oh, Gerald, this is always so much fun. I hope people enjoy it. I don't think anybody watched us.
I'm not seeing it, and I wasn't seeing it on the channel, so I'm wondering if you have it to like your members only or something.
No, I hit public. Is it public? Yeah. Remember we looked at the little pencil?
Yeah, let's just make sure it's on the right channel, but we'll figure it out. And if it's not, then you can download it and upload it later.
I'll send it to you. Easy. Yeah. Unfortunate for everybody to miss out on this sparkling conversation.
Well, but here's the thing. If people subscribe and hit the notification bell, they get notified when new videos get done.
Well, in people's defense, not necessarily. I make a point when I subscribe, I make a point of being sure that I hit the notification. And I have noticed I'm getting fewer and fewer notifications of my subscriptions. I go back and look, I'm not subscribed anymore.
Yes, I've heard that as well.
I find that enormously irritating.
Yep.
That's me using judicious language because I'll tell you after I hit end what I really think. Just ridiculous. Okay, Gerald, this has been wonderful fun, and I apologize I'm not making faster progress.
You don't have to apologize. This isn't a race.
I'd like to see, hey, I'm the oldest. I want progress. I want,
Well, you did make progress.
Actually, yeah, it's shocking, isn't it? I don't want to rest on my laurels or anything, but look at that heel.
I know. I love a good heel turn. I love a heel flap and a heel turn. I'm like,
I can't tell you how many times I had to rip it out before I got it right.
Okay. We won't talk about it.
All right. I love you, Gerald. This has been great. And hey, thank you, everybody. Sorry you missed out on our live stream.
Yeah.
But next time I'll try to remember about live streams that they exist. And
there you go.
Yeah. Okay. Slongafoil.